I'll share muna my screen and then let me know if you can see it. Nakikita nyo ba yung screen ko? I'm sharing a Google slide. Kita ba? Can you please give me a thumbs up? Okay, I think everyone can see it. So this will be a lecture. I have actually 22 slides only for today. And if you will listen, kasi some of the concepts here are already, like, you already meet them bitaw, but then you just don't know na ito pala yung correct na term para sa kanila. So this lecture is actually an extension of the identity and access management concepts that we discussed in the previous lecture. Okay, so in this lecture, we are going to discuss the identity federation. This is actually, I would like to consider this one concept because most of the time bitaw, when you go sign up, ano po yung you go sign up for a particular bitaw na web application, you are sometimes given two options, di ba? Yan yung mga usual na nakikita natin. You can either create a new account or ano pa ba yung usual natin, or you can use your existing Gmail or Facebook account to log in. That concept bitaw is actually powered by Identity Federation. So Identity Federation is actually, it provides a framework under which two different entities can establish trust relationships so that you don't have to create multiple redundant accounts. Like for example, if I have, for example, application 1, application 2, application 3, in the normal setup, you need to register on those 3 applications for you to get the services that you would want to avail from them. But with Identity Federation, yung nangyayari is that you just only have one account and then you can log in na din sa ilahada yun. Okay? So how does this concept works? Ito yung magiging basehan natin. This is actually an illustration on the token-based authentication. Ito yung the usual one na ginagawa natin when we do bitaw a sign up and login. Okay? So hindi pa ito yung hindi pa ito yung ito lang yung foundation ng Identity Federation. So this is not yet DIF. Okay? So before we delve into the details of Identity Federation, let's see first how traditional token-based authentication works. So kindly notice the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 because that will guide you on how does it work. Okay. So let's say you are a user and you want to log into a server, for example. So you send your credentials, and if your login credentials are of course approved, then the server creates an authentication success message or reply message, and alongside with it is that an inclusion of a token is also provided. So ibig sabihin, pag mag-respond yung server, meron siyang token na binibigay. Once the user has this token, he does not need to provide his credentials again and again. So ibig sabihin, if you log out, and then you just need to use that token. Okay? So if you go to another pages of that particular web application through that server, obviously, yung ginagamit mo na lang to authenticate is yung token. Okay? So this is how, the token included is actually subsequent requests, okay? And it's based on the token, and then the server can authenticate whether it is a legitimate user or not. So, diba, every time we access a web application, we always go through the server. So, with the use of the token, the server will then authenticate na okay, this is a legitimate or an authorized or authenticated user. So this is how, by using a token, we avoid exchanging credentials repeatedly. Like hindi ito pa ulit. So an important concept we must understand is that yung token for this particular concept is short-lived. Ibig sabihin, we cannot have a token that stays active for weeks and months. So from a security point of view, kasi nga that will be a problem, okay? This will really create a serious problem. And of course, to avoid this problem, tokens are considered to be short-lived. And yung ano lang nila is that they are regenerated by the server within the same session. So every few minutes or every few hours, depende sa server or depende sa context, di ba? The server generates a new token, sends it to the client again, and the client subsequently uses the new token. So this is how traditional token-based authentication works. Let it be known na ito nangyayari siya, di ba? Nangyayari siya not with your visible naked eye. It always happens at the back, okay? So again, for example, if mag-login request ka, the server will provide you with the message, the successful authentication message, and then any requests that you will be getting from, kindly notice gali for number 2, di ba? Meron siyang yellow ba ito? Yellow na circle, di ba? So this is actually the representation of the token. So may binibigay na token, so that would mean every time you access again the server, so that's the time na po dayon na you are also using the token together with whatever services you would want to inquire with them. And of course, the server will respond. So any token given by the server will be identified by the server itself as well. Okay? So let's now go to the identity federation. I don't know if you are familiar with this one, but most of the websites right now are using this kind of interface. Like for example, if they would want you to register, meron silang options na binibigay. You can either log in through your Facebook, log in through your Twitter account, but the very common yun talaga is yung Gmail, di ba? We already noticed that one. So as you see in the figure, sometimes when you visit a web application or a site, you can either provide your own customized account. Pwede man din na you don't want to use any of the existing accounts. You would want to use your, for example, I like mag-create talaga ng bagong account. Pwede rin yan. Okay? So the concept bitaw of you using your existing Facebook, Gmail, or LinkedIn account to create a new account for this particular web application, that is powered by the Identity Federation. Itong nasa ibaba bitaw, itong mga from Facebook up until to ano itong last na ito. I think that's Instagram, di ba? Yan is powered by Identity Federation. So the main idea of Identity Federation again is to use credentials from one account to log in into your multiple systems. So the key motivation is that if we have systems that trust each other, why should we create multiple redundant accounts? Diba? Remember, creating multiple accounts places unnecessary burden on the user. Diba? The more bitaw nga dagan yung account nimo, the more you get confused as to which one should I use or which one should I use for this particular web application. So one of the very reasons why Identity Federation was created is for us to remove bitaw the accumulation of numerous credentials for different accounts, and of course we need to avoid the increased possibility of leakage or any form of problem that it may come along the way. So for Identity Federation, if those systems trust each other, we can simply leverage one account to gain access to other systems. This one makes it easier for the user to remember the credentials for a single account, di ba? So let's say for example, Gmail, di ba? Si Gmail yung pinaka-popular natin na example of Identity Federation. So many different web applications worldwide allow users to log in into their systems if they have an existing Gmail account because they have a trust relationship with Gmail. So again, the key motivation again is to avoid creating multiple accounts and managing multiple identity and access management system. Yan yung purpose ni Identity Federation. So how does it work? Paano nangyayari sa Identity Federation? So again, yung Identity Federation natin, it's actually the trust created between one web survey, one organization over the other. Okay? So let's say for example, so let's see how the Identity Federation flow works para you can really understand. Kindly please notice as well yung mga numbers natin na yung number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Medyo magulo yung diagrams, but then if you will just follow my explanation, you can get it minsan. So let's say you have an existing Gmail account, ito, and then you want to log in into a new website. So the new website is a service provider. Itong naka-orange. Am I right? So you want to access a new service, and since you already have a Gmail account, Gmail serves as the identity provider, di ba? Yung website na gusto nating i-access, ang tawag natin dyan is the service provider. Yung organization that provides accounts is what you call identity provider. Okay, yan si Gmail. Okay? So the service provider, kindly notice, the service provider and the identity provider, Gmail in this case, have a trust relationship. Kindly look at the diagram. They have the trust relationship. Now, with this, what happens is that the user sends a login request. Can you look at number 1? That's login request. Okay? So since the service provider allows Identity Federation, so yung ibig sabihin yung nagde-decide whether I will do Identity Federation with the other existing identity providers is that's really up to service providers, hindi siya up to identity provider. Ibig sabihin, if I have a web application, I will contact or I will ask Gmail to be part, or I would want to avail the identity federation bitaw na services, which is in the form of identity provision. Okay? So, since the service provider allows identity federation, it forwards your authentication request to the identity provider, which is the Gmail. Kindly look at number 2, di ba? Yung nangyari is that pag login request ko, I did not have it on my end. Ang ginawa ko is that as the service provider, I forwarded it to Gmail. Okay? So Gmail then redirects you to its login page. Kabantay mo na, guys. I don't know if you have tried that one. Sige daw, have you tried that one? Na mag-sign up bitaw ka? Ang may tabo dayon is that you will be redirected to a login page sa Gmail. Thumbs up daw. Sa Google day, o di ba? Kindly give me a thumbs up if you have tried that one. Okay, nakatry na ang uban. Borg si Reggie lang nakatry. How about the others? Okay, very good. So kana nga term, guys, ang tawag is identity federation. To be honest, this is the first time that I encountered the term. First time ba nako or katulang iyang concept lang silbi niya. Ang term di kay identity federation di ba? That's quite something new as well. So once you log in and your credentials are approved by Gmail, Gmail then creates a token. Di ba kaganina sa katugaling traditional kay we have token man, di ba? So dani ang naitabo is that they are provided with a particular token na sad. But ang tawag sa token dani karon is SAML. It's what you call security assertion markup language. Again, security assertion markup language. We will discuss SAML later, okay? But the basic idea remains the same. Same rin siya gyapon. So again, instead of the service provider generating the token, di ba kabantay ka? Kindly look at number 5 gali. Yung nagbigay ng token is hindi si service provider, but instead, ang nagbigay ng token is sino man? Si Gmail, di ba? So, instead of the service provider generating the token, as discussed in traditional token-based authentication mechanism, the identity provider, which is Gmail, generates the token and sends it to the service provider. Once this step is completed, the service provider now knows that you are a legitimate Gmail user. Since the provider trusts Gmail, your login is considered to be successful. Can you look at this one? Diba? Pag number 1 ako, you have the login request. Ipasa din ko sa Gmail. Pagka number 3, can you look at number 3? Diba? It's very indirect. Diba? Gmail went to my end, but then it's only giving me the login page. Nag-login din ko dayon. Number 4, nakatag ang ending dayon. Instead, instead of going to the service provider, since Gmail provided me a login page man, that's where I do my login credentials again. Diba? By number 5 dayon, si number 5, I have, since Gmail authenticated na I am a legit Gmail, I have a legit Gmail account or a user of Google, then a token in a form of SAML is generated and is given to the service provider, and then the one who verifies dayon na I'm okay or good go or I can use the services provided by the service provider is of course the service provider na dayon. Kaya they trust each other man, di ba nga? Okay. So okay siya kan Gmail, then ako siyang pasudlod. Okay? Yan yung purpose ni identity federation, di ba? So imagine gali if having, for example, if you would want to access 20 ka book, di ba? 20 ka different websites. So in the context of that one, you would likely to create yapon 20 ka accounts, but with identity federation, you only have 1 account. Okay? Now, single sign-on, okay, ito naman is another concept of identity federation. This is actually a subset of identity federation, but the difference is that we are not talking about a single organization. So within an organization, if you have multiple applications or systems running, you can use one set of credentials or a single login to access all those different applications or systems. For example, sa among side bitaw, for example, sa faculty, I think Sir Gab is using single sign-on gyapon. Kay the account I'm using for the login credentials for the enrollment is isa. For the faculty bitaw, is same ra gyapon sila gyapon. So I'm using single sign-on. So it's still a subset of identity federation, but it's within the organization. Okay? So another example would be logging into one once and then accessing your email system. So di ba kabantay mo, if you will try to log in bitaw your, what do you call this one, your Google account bitaw, automatically you can access na dahil Google Slides, ano pa ba, Sheets, Google Docs, di ba? Lahat ng mga services offered by Google, it's only single sign-on. So meaning it's within their system. So but still the basic idea remains the same. Leverage one account to access multiple services. So again, si single sign-on, ang iyang concept niya is that na may organization, for example, si Google, we have different services. Gmail, Google Meet, Google Docs, Sheets, and then ano pa ba? Google Slide, for example, instead of having 5 different accounts on that one, I'll just use na lang dayon my Gmail account, di ba? So that's single sign-on. So this dayon, because bitaw of the existence of single sign-on, this now warrants a discussion on the difference between the two. So ano yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa? Actually, both are of similar concept. In fact, as mentioned earlier, single sign-on is only a subset of identity federation. So identity federation is more general in nature and is usually implemented between organizations. For example, I will use my Gmail account to log into my LinkedIn. I will use my Gmail account to log into my Facebook, di ba? So in contrast, the single sign-on naman is applied within only a single organization. So it allows the multiple applications or systems within the same organization using one login. So another point to note is that single sign-on focuses exclusively on signing in, whereas identity federation is more comprehensive. Kaya diba, if you notice a while ago in the illustration, medyo mas mahaba yung process ni identity federation compared kang single sign-on. Diba? Kaya once yung single sign-on, okay na siya, then automatically the services provided within the same organization, you can already avail it without doing bitaw the same process of authentication. Diba? So let's now have a look of some of the protocols. So when you say protocols, gali, ibig sabihin, these are some of the rules used by Identity Federation. So the first one is what you call SAML. Ito yung kanina, which is a standard for, ang ibig sabihin ng SAML is Security Assertion Markup Language. Okay? This is a standard of single sign-on implementation. So the primary function of SAML is to provide authentication between two parties. Yan yung ginagamit natin kanina. Next naman, you have OAuth. So, okay? This is a standard for authorization between two parties. Okay? So OAuth allows services, devices, and applications to run on behalf of users within or with their authorization. So finally, we have also OIDC or OpenID Connect, which is another naman gyapon na standard for single sign-on implementations. The interesting point about OIDC is that it is built on top of OAuth. But between the three bitaw, the very common yun is SAML. Okay? Just be familiar with the two. Kaya usually, pag nanabitaw devices bitaw involved, kani si SAML man yun kay it's more on laptop and mobile devices. Si OAuth is that it also involves smart devices. For example, you have your TV, you have your ano pa ba yung mga Internet of Things natin na devices. Diba, smartwatch, yung ganyan, okay? So now let's have a look of some of the commercial products used in single sign-on. So we have actually companies who provide single sign-on, like ang ila bitong services na ginabuhat or the services or the products that they provide is out in the market and it's proprietary. Ibig sabihin, binibenta, okay? So two of the leading solutions in this category is the first one, ito yung pinaka-common, si Okta. And of course, we have AWS. Si AWS is medyo ano siya, it's quite familiar on the big organizations, but si Okta, it's mostly on the small businesses bitaw. But the two of them are good, okay? So both of them supports multi-factor authentication. They also support yung katulad atong discuss bitaw na internet identity and access management, yung mga IAAA. They also provide that one. The main difference lang lies with the prices. Diba? Can you look at the prices, gali? Diba? Mas barato medyo pricey si AWS. Okay? So, for example, Okta offers the first 7,000 users for free. So, if you avail the service, yung first 7,000 users mo, it's for free. After which, they will then charge $2 per user per month. So, more than 7,000. So, after that one day, for example, you have another 500. They will charge you $2 per month for that one. In contrast naman, you have AWS. This provides 50,000 free users, which is substantially more than Okta. Okay? So after 50,000 users, AWS Cognito charges $275 per month for every additional 50,000 users. Okay, so both are well known and stable solutions in terms of this particular concept. And then the decision on which one to use depends on the specific needs and context of your organization and of course business requirements. Okay, for example, if your organization really does not go or way past behind 7,000, then you can go for Okta. But if you're a big company or if you're a large corporation, then maybe you can go for AWS. Okay? Do you have questions for Identity Federation? Sige daw, be. Do you have question? Okay, kung walang question, can you please give me a thumbs up para I can assert if masabtan ba wala. Okay, yung iba hindi na thumbs up, I think natutulog pa sila. Ano kayang nangyari? The next one naman is what we call, ito na tayo, we have another topic na pod. We have actually security governance, but it's only focused on policies, standards, and procedures. If you notice, these words are already when you're in school or when you are a member of an organization or any legal entities, diba? Mayroon talagang policies, standards, and guidelines. Okay? So, we're now going to discuss some key components of security governance. Okay? These components are important in ensuring a decent and secure security posture of the organization. Ibig sabihin, yung goal nila is to make a secure, decent organization guided by policies, standards, and procedures. So mainly, we'll be discussing the three, and then we're going to look at what this entail and what the difference between them. What's the differences between them? Okay. So if you look at the security governance pyramid, can you look at the pyramid at the right side? Policies are always at the top. So policies are organization-wide. Ibig sabihin, they are on high level and broad in space. It's kind of general, kumbaga. So usually policies are defined for long-term and typically it spans for several years. Ibig sabihin, when they change policies, it would take them years. Okay? So policies are few in number, high level, and broad in nature. So below policies, under policies, if you notice, we have what you call standards, diba? So this highlights the rules needed to achieve the intent of the policy. Okay? So standards are more numerous compared to policies. Ibig sabihin, kung si policies medyo broad siya, si standards naman, they are more likely specific. Okay? So below standards naman, we have what we call procedures. Ito naman is very specific steps needed to implement the rules specified by the standards. So the basic aim of procedures is actually to train the employees and ensure consistency in security-related business processes. Ibig sabihin, if you're the employee, most likely, you will follow the procedures to attain the standards and, of course, to have a guided nga policy. Okay? So if you have the basic aim, again, of the procedures is to train the employees and ensure consistency in security-related business operations. So if you have a standard operating procedure, di ba, munang SOP, di ba, with documented steps for a particular situation, it doesn't matter which employee implements those steps, di ba? Because you will have consistency in results and consistency in the process. Kasi nga, naka-layout naman yung mga procedures natin. So this is actually very important because if you don't have standard operating procedures, there might be tendencies that different employees on your organization will take any scenarios differently, di ba? So mas klaro na, mas sada if you klaro gid siya gyud. So they may take different steps leading to different results, di ba? That will be a problem. So for example, let's say for example, meron tayong phishing attack sa organization. So it's been detected and it's been reported. So if you have a proper procedure outlining how to address that phishing attack from step 1 to final step, you will be in a better position to maintain the integrity of your security posture. Ibig sabihin, kanang bitong, if you will try to look at it in a perspective bitaw, in a setup bitaw, like you will no longer be you will not be confused on what to do first, what to do next, what will happen next, diba? You will have a step to follow, which is also a good one, diba? We also have actually guidelines which reside at the same level of the pyramid as procedures. Yun nga lang, guidelines are optional. They are just optional recommendations, meaning they are suggested as best practices, but they are typically not mandatory. Ano yung mandatory? Yung procedures talaga, di ba? If you can add more of a standard, then more of a best practice, not standard, best practice, then maybe that's good. But yung goal talaga natin as employee, kumbaga, on the level of the procedures, we are to follow the procedures. Okay? Let's say, for example, ito, para masabtan ginato gyud. I don't know if you can see it clearly. This is also the same policy, standards, and procedures, but then it's implemented on passwords. So for example, we will design the policy, the standard, and the procedures for passwords. Diba? So the password policy states that passwords must be strong, should be regularly rotated, and that the users are responsible for safeguarding their passwords. If you will try to analyze it, it's really broad. It's really in nature. Kanabaga, it's really general, di ba? So for example, if you will try to look at the policy bitaw, the policy is broad and generic in nature. And of course, specific details are not mentioned because it's just a policy, di ba? So for example, it states that the passwords must be strong but does not specify how strong or how to create a strong password, di ba? Siya mentioned. It also does not mention how frequently passwords should be rotated. Now, let's look at the standard para bitaw ano. So again, below policies, you have also the standard. Again, dili biya kontra si policies, si standards, o si procedures. They work accordingly. Like the standards will defend the policy. The procedures dayon will also defend the standards. Okay? So the password standard can specify details such as password must be greater than 8 characters in length and include at least 2 special characters. Diba? Klaro na siya. The standard now explains in more detail what passwords must be strong or what passwords are considered to be strong. So to ensure the strength of the password, passwords must be of a certain length and include special characters. The second point, can you look at the second point, guys? The password daw must be changed every 90 days. Diba? Very specific na. The last one dayon, if you will, not the last one, if you will go back to the policy, it states there that password should be regularly rotated, but the standard now specifies that the rotation must occur every 90 days. Okay, so this provides more details and clarity. Thirdly, users are responsible for their passwords, and if they believe their password has been compromised, they must immediately contact the IT security. Diba? So this part of the standard explains and provides details on how users are responsible for safeguarding their passwords. Can you look at balik sa policy gali, diba? So if they suspect a compromise, then maybe they will take an action based on the given standard. Okay. Now let's look at the procedure and guidelines, which outlines the very specific steps to be taken based on the standards na sad. So for example, consider a password change procedure that lists the specific steps required. Okay, ito. So you have here, you need to log in into your account. You need to go to the settings option and then select change password. Then you must enter the new password along with the confirmation and click submit. Diba? While this may seem like simple steps that people can follow on their own, it is always helpful as well to provide a standard set of steps to avoid confusion. So this is an example, but in more complex situations such as, for example, addressing security breach, things can become chaotic if there is no procedure provided. So password guidelines could include, for example, recommendations such as selecting a phrase, yung passphrase bitaw, as a password because it is easier to remember and stronger. So this is effective because a sentence or phrase is actually is long, making the password highly resistant to brute force attacks. So, as we saw, policies provide overall good direction. Di ba siya gid ang basihan gid silbi. Standards, on the other hand, explain policies in more details, while procedures list the specific steps that needs to be taken in order for you to gain that standard. So designing effective information security policies is a challenging task, but there are several factors that you need to consider to address them. Okay? So again, you have procedures, standards, and of course, procedures and guidelines. Okay? Kindly remember that one. So again, ang pinaka-guiding light, gid nila gyud is si policies gyud. Okay. Now let's look at some key considerations for designing an effective information security policy. We have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6. The first one is what you call risk assessment. Okay. So you should always clearly identify risks, assess their likelihood of occurrence, and of course, prioritize them. The key danger is that if you overlook a risk, especially one that is likely to materialize, your information security policy will have a critical flaw, meaning na naging possibility nga sa'yo, gid siya gyud. The next one naman is what you call the legal and regulatory requirements. So if in this case bitaw, every industry has its own set of legal and regulatory compliance requirements. Ibig sabihin, iba yung mga legal requirements sa IT, iba yung sa marketing, iba yung sa education or sa academic, okay? So when designing information security policies, these requirements must be properly addressed. Any information security policy without enforcement mechanism is essentially useless. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya magagamit. Okay? So your policy should clearly identify violations, specify penalties for non-compliance, and ensure that these penalties are enforced. Ito yung sa enforcement. You should also always involve people. Yan. Especially the staff who will be following the security policy daily. They can help refine policy and may identify areas or issues that were overlooked. So for example, if there are certain policies, diba, as mentioned earlier, policies span for a period of time, diba? So those who will correct it, it's not actually the policy makers. Yung nagko-correct ng policy is yung gumagamit or yung naaapektuhan ng policy. For example, yung mga staff natin, diba? So sila yung magbibigay sa atin ng feedback. They cannot change the policy. They can just only provide feedback. Okay? So sila yung magiging, kumbaga, barometer mo whether to still implement the said policy over the next period of time, or maybe we can do some changes on it. Okay? So you can have the best information security policy in the world, but if employees are not properly trained on how to implement it, it becomes ineffective. Diba? So you should conduct periodic training workshops to educate employees on information security policies and procedures. Just like bitaw in our setup bitaw sa academic, kahit sinagali, kahit na paulit-ulit yung in-service training namin, wala kaming nagagawa because that's really the standard or that's the policy. We need to really conduct training on all aspects every start of the semester. Kahit na paulit-ulit yung mga training namin, it's still because it's part of the policy man, di ba? Kasi nga usually the periodic training will help the employees analyze, not analyze actually, to remember bitaw if ever something will happen, di ba? And then finally, support is crucial. Management support should not only be verbal, but should also be documented and visibly reinforced. Ibig sabihin, if the management would want bitaw to provide support, it's not only bitaw nga kanagaling story lang taman. It should also be documented. It can even be part of the policy, diba? So if employees see senior management actively supporting, this is actually based on research, and advocating for security policies, they are more likely to follow them, diba? So the concept here remains that those who create the policies should also enforce it themselves. Dili kay ako yung gumagawa ng policy. Yung policy is para lang sa inyo. Hindi. The policy should be true to all. It should be absolute. Like dapat it should be implemented on my end as well. Okay, so again, we have risk, we have legal and regulatory, we have enforcement, we have staff engagement, employee training, and then management support. Kindly remember those things because those things will help you create an effective information security policy. If you notice bitaw, most of the policies that are created bitaw or most of the factors mentioned earlier, it's most likely on the people side yun. Diba? Kabantay mo, it's more of the people side. So munang, the policy is not there to torment or to degrade bitaw the humans involved or the staff involved. It's actually to help or to protect them also for any unforeseen bitaw problems in the near future in terms of security, diba? The last one naman is what we call security governance. Ito naman tayo, you have GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DDS, and of course, the intellectual property. So in this part of the lecture, we're now going to discuss some popular compliance laws and regulations. Actually, it's more of the standards sila. Like kanabitang naa sila for, they are part of the international standards for compliance and regulatory in terms of security. So the compliance landscape has already evolved. That's really evident good over the course of time, as I noticed good. So in the recent years, companies are already obliged to protect the integrity and confidentiality of the information they gather. We are also going to look at some intellectual property instruments later po gyapon, di ba? So I have it here. So before we delve into the details of compliance, there are some key terms that you must remember. The first one is what you call PII. Nasa ba mga term sad, sir? Yes, that's PII, personally identifiable information. So this information can be used to identify, contact, or locate someone. Yan yung PII. So this includes things like, for example, your full name, ano pa ba, driver's license, social security number, your home address, and contact numbers. So any organization that collects, stores, and processes the information, this particular information must be protected. Okay? They're also obliged or obligated to announce any breaches that surpass a certain threshold. There are also penalties that will be applied to organizations that do not comply with this one. Bitaw na usually bitaw pag mag-register bitaw kada so bitaw you have terms and conditions, or if you have forms bitaw you kindly look at the terms and conditions of the form, like unsa bitaw mabuhat bitaw like, will my data be stored confidentially? If it's not stated bitaw in the document, you can ask man sad niya, sir, ang ako bang data dani will be confidential kay basin bitaw I'll be giving my data and then it will be used dayon to any other purpose. But that's very wrong. Okay, kindly be vigilant on that particular matter. You also have PHI. Ito naman very very risky ginigid kay this one is a term we need to understand, which stands for protected health information. This refers to health related information including healthcare plans, payment details, and medical history that can be linked to an individual. This includes, same nagyapon sa PII, pero kani siya kay medyo more of the medical side. So names, addresses, health records such as medical or dental records, full face scans, biometric data, and health insurance numbers. So the primary difference between PII and PHI is that PHI specifically relates to health-related information. Similar to PII, every organization that collects, stores, and processes this kind of information must be protected. Okay, it should be protected. There are already laws in the countries and regulations in place that we are going to discuss shortly, and there are penalties applied if organizations do not comply with these regulations. So for example, kani sa hospital bitaw nang usually if hospital ka, you are not allowed or you are not encouraged bitaw to bring someone who's not member of the family, because your medical history is only available to you, to your authorized person, and of course the next in line is your family gidayon. Okay, mo bitong usually bitaw, for example, someone you know bitaw nga for example niya, this is actually a case na I would really remind myself na if you know there's someone bitaw, for example, someone got an HIV case kumbaga, that is not to be disclosed. Isa pwede istorya kay that's part of PHI daw kuno. So it should only be available to the doctor and then the patient. Kinadis naman ay kanabitang agreement, di ba? Confidentiality kumbaga. Okay? So anything that you disclose bitaw, for example, the doctor is not allowed to disclose any information sa iyang patient niya, di ba? Ang naragi right para mag-disclose sa iyang kumbaga health records is of course the patient. For example, iyang ipakita sa imuha, i-share sa imuha, but getting it without his or her consent is a violation of their rights, and you will be jailed for that one. Pwede kang pisala na pagyapon. Okay? So let's have a look at some of the popular compliance regulations. The first one is what you call GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations. This was introduced by the European Union sa Europe to protect the personal data of EU citizens worldwide. An important point to note here is that an organization can be located anywhere in the world, may nakasya sa GDPR, even outside Europe. But if they collect, process, and store the data of EU citizens, then GDPR applies to them as well. So any standards or compliance or any bitaw nga balaod ni GDPR, for as long as you are a European citizen, you will be bound. For example, lugar, like ano siya din sa Pilipinas, and then nag-avail sa services. GDPR policies will be applied sa iya hapon-gyapon. Okay? The next one naman is HIPAA or HIPAA. Pero we don't call that one HIPAA daw, it should be HIPAA daw, which stands for Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So kani siya, it's actually a international it's actually international. So ibig sabihin, the Philippines also complies with this one, or ga-apply ang mga hospital sa inani, but this is on another level man gid. So sometimes they need to comply muna with the standards of the Philippines before we go to HIPAA. Okay? So this aim of protecting healthcare information. The third one naman is what you call PCI DDS, which stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This regulation is aimed at protecting credit card data. I actually saw this one sa BPI. Nila. I don't know lang sa other banks. Okay? So this is already being implemented in the Philippines. GDPR, HIPAA. Sa HIPAA, akong gi-search is that HIPAA certified is si St. Luke's Medical nga hospital bitaw tong sa Manila. Isa sila. Diba? So garbo sila. Now, we are now going to discuss a more detailed look at each of the regulations atong unahon sa GDPR. Okay? So here are the key features of GDPR. The first one is purpose limitation. Data should be collected and only be used for stated purposes. An organization cannot use the data purposes if it's not explicitly declared. For example, I'm using, nagpa-register ko, padani nga service, pero gamit akong data para sa marketing. Dili pwede. Okay? So data breach notification. Data breaches must be reported within 72 hours. For example, the company or the service provider nga ako bitong gi-access kay na-breach sila or na-hack sila. So within that 72 hours dapat matagaan bitaw ko og information nga na, whether it be email, text, or any form of communication. So failure to do so may incur penalties which can be substantial. Okay? So fines can go up. Kindly listen to this one. Fines can go up from 4 million euros or 4% of the annual turnover. Di ba? Imagine. Data integrity naman and security. Data must be safeguarded. Encryption should be employed. And of course, privacy should be enforced. Di ba? That's very standard. Storage limitation. Only necessary data should be stored and all other data should be deleted. For example, if a company collects data about an individual and uses only part of it, the remaining data should not be stored indefinitely in the hopes of future use. For example, nakay sila og imong name, imong address, imong birthday, imong gender, imong civil status, but katurang upat ang kinahanglan. May civil status not needed. So they need to delete this one or ilang ilabit ang i-discard. Okay? Kaya mo naman kinahanglan nila. Okay? Right to be forgotten. Organizations must provide individuals with option of selecting whether they want their data to remain indefinitely with the company or if they want it to be deleted. So pwede ka na mag-request, di ba? That's why we have sa Facebook na tayo deactivate or delete account. Patay na. If an individual requests data deletion, the company must comply. No questions. This gives individuals significant control over their personal data. Okay? So lahat bitaw ng mga legal or katibitaw mga services that are provided over online, nagi sila ni gid. Okay? Na sila, although this is applied bitaw in EU citizens only, most of the companies tailored their policies to GDPR. Kaya mo siya standard man silbi. Okay? Kaya para bitaw, for example, we will create a policy anchored to GDPR. So if meron tayong mga we have EU citizens or Europe citizens, Europeans who would like to access our service, then di na tayo magproblema. Kay our policy is tailored or anchored to GDPR naman, di ba? Next naman, you have the HIPAA. The first one is yung physical protection. Companies must control and monitor access to systems and track electronic personal information or FE devices. The second one, we have administrative protection. Companies must manage risks, block unauthorized access, and train staff to enforce security measures. Part in a good. breach notification, just like in GDPR. Companies must immediately notify patients, health authorities, and possibly the media about the breaches. Diba? A breach exceeding 500 records must be publicly disclosed. So, less than that one, maybe they can have it internal or katuro mga naapektuhan ang ilang i-communicate. Smaller breaches do not require media notification. But again, 500 records and above, kubitong kadumdum mo, sa katibitong sa PhilHealth bitaw guys. Okay, that was really on the news because that's more than 500 records. Okay. The privacy rule naman, we have it here. A company must respond to a patient's request for their collected informations. Patients have the right to access their health records. Mabitaw ng pag-hospital, bitaw ka, pwede ka mag-ingon, for example, i-discharge na ka. You can then ask, like, can I ask for my medical history? Kasi purpose na naman. Like, for example, you will travel and then you would want bitaw, for example, hospital, kasalain nga lugar na yun. You can just present your medical history. Okay? Other companies bitaw, katibitaw mga other hospitals na that are already bitaw into technology, they will just send you the email. Kana bitaw a PDF copy of your medical history. Nakatry mi din na gyapon sa nakatry sa CU. Dila ina nila, di ba? So penalties kanina, di ba? If you remember bitaw, lahat talaga ng policies, lahat bitaw, even those bitaw kay na mga penalties gyud. So penalties, HIPAA violations can range from $100 per violation to 1.5 million per year if a company is found to have willfully neglected HIPAA regulations. And of course, the technical protection. Companies must protect the confidentiality and integrity of their patients. They must encrypt health information and log access. Muna siya. Ang ibig sabihin ng ibig sabihin ni HIPAA is that even if it's more of your health lang, it should also be protected. Others may neglect it, but this can even ruin careers, di ba? I'll give an example lang. If the medical record or health record of the president of the Philippines or any state bitaw is disclosed, di ba? That can be grounds for impeachment ba guys, di ba? Like for example, di man physically fit si president, di man siya mentally fit di ay. So pwede na siya grounds for impeachment or matangtang siya. Munang usually gid bitaw, the records of the patient should really be confidential. Di siya pwede gyud waldas nimo sa and in the public. So you have also the PCI DDS. So this regulation is is designed to protect all credit cards or all users who use credit cards. Okay. So to comply with PCI DSS, companies must first, they should have vulnerability management. So implement a security program to identify and address vulnerabilities. Number 4, you have secure network communication, encrypt and secure end-to-end communication. It's not only from the source, but as well as to the destination. Network monitoring and testing. Implement mechanisms to monitor networks and detect breaches or malware infections. You also have authentication and access security. This one ensures that end users are properly authenticated. So, usually karon kanito number 6, ang ginabot karon na ni PCI DSS is that they use na kanabitang sa imong OTP, manila mga common example nila. So for example, if the company allows credit card payments over HTTP instead of HTTPS, it's already violating PCI DSS because the connection is not encrypted. Remember, websites bitaw nga walang S sa HTTP, it's not encrypted. Okay? So exposing credit card data to potential breaches. So kinakailangan it should be HTTPS gid siya gid. Am I clear? Hello? Am I clear? Give me thumbs up if I'm clear. Okay, klaro siya. Now we have here tips on being compliant with GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS. Okay? So as the saying goes, prevention is always better than cure. So if your company can operate without collecting extensive PIR or PHI, if it's not needed, then don't collect it na lang, diba? If you must collect PII or PHI, only gather the minimal required data. Like for example, if ang kinahanglan naman ay pangalan naman day yung address, go for that one. If it's not needed, bitaw kinahanglan pa yung birthday, do not collect it. Okay? Muna sa yung system bitaw pohon, I'm really particular good like what's really needed man gid. Do I need to really store the address number or the contact number? Okay, if it's not, if it will not be used bitaw in the system, do not include that in your database, di ba? So for this one, you also have it here. use legit third-party services like PayPal to process payments instead of storing payment information yourself. So karon sa Philippines, ang pinaka-common good is si GCash, di ba? We have already payment gateway for GCash. Ang kwan lang niya is that it's only allowed for merchants. Di siya allowed bitaw sa kanila bitong single-based transactions. Okay? So always use encryption, whether it be at rest, di ba? Meaning dapat yung mga database natin is naka-encrypt na daan, or in transit. So use IPsec or TLS for secure data transition. And then implement a security framework to control data access. Data should be classified properly as private, confidential, or public. And access should be assigned accordingly. Hindi siya true to all. Again, always remember to use encryption in your database, di ba? Pag at rest, ibig sabihin nasa database mo. Pag in transit, ibig sabihin during transmission. And then, they should be able to provide a secure security framework that will help them classify whether it's private, confidential, or public. Klaro na siya. The last one naman is what you call intellectual property. Kani, very common gyapon sa Philippines, gyapon nga mga kaso-kaso gyapon. So let's now discuss intellectual property. This is a concept that is becoming increasingly important in the modern world. Diba? Wealth creation is shifting from tangible assets, yung mga nahahawakan, like real estate, to intangible assets like intellectual capital. Okay? However, while tangible assets are well protected by law, sila gid ang nagibitaw, sila ang unang naprotektahan. Intangible assets require also similar protection. That's why intellectual property is here. So this actually refers to intangible property created through human intellect. Okay? So we have here a illustration. Okay. Some common intellectual property protection mechanisms include, for example, trademarks. This grant the owner exclusive rights to a phrase, symbol, or design. Kababante ka na ng kanibitong letter M sa sa McDonald's, sila lang po yung pwedeng gumamit ng ganyang pagka-letter M na yellow. Okay? Same goes with Nestle, bitaw nga inana at itong Nestle, na kung sa taas, sila lang din po yung pwedeng gumamit ng ganyan. You also have what you call copyrights. So, copyrights protect creative or intellectual work such as images, music, and literature. Diba? Ito yung mga common case natin in the Philippines is yung Celos bitaw. Am I correct? Correct ba ko itong Celos, diba? There was a problem with the copyright, and then yung nangyari dayon is that the original singer, I forgot the original singer. Who can tell me? Sino yung original singer, guys, sa Celos gali, guys? Not the Muslim one. Pero yung sikat bitaw. I forgot the name. So yung naka-remember. Naka-remember na nga issue, guys. The Celos song is not an original song of a Muslim girl, but it's actually a copyrighted na song, di ba? You also have patents. So this one prevent others from making, using, or selling an invention without permission. So, taitood, ang copyrights it will only last, for example, author's lifetime plus 70 years. So, for example, si Taylor Swift. Namatay siya sa edad nga 80. So, 70 years after dayon, ang copyrights niya na dayon is wala na dayon. Okay? So, patents can, same with patents, si patents lang is that it will last for 20 years and apply only in country where they are filed. So, for example, I have a patent for a particular technology. Kaya siya, I will have it patented in the Philippines. If I would want it to be patented in the US, I need to go there. Okay? So to obtain international protection, companies must file patents in multiple countries. Sir, mahal ba si pagpapatent? Mahal siya, but you know what, in the Philippines, DOST supports patent nga process. Pag nakita ng bitong, they would say nga it's novel, it's bago, it's really an invention, they will help you. Okay? So that ends our discussion for today. Do you have any questions, guys? Meron bang question? Oh, walang question sila. Kung walang question, kindly please give me a thumbs up. Sige. Thumbs up tayo, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. Sige. That's quite fast. That's quite short lang. So again, we will be doing a formative assessment next week po gyapon. And then after this one, another topic na po dayon ang atong ma-discuss. Okay? So, kung wala ng question,